Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Andy Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And I'm honored to introduce this week's guest on this podcast, John Lee. Hi, John.
Hey, Adi.
Hey, it's so good to have you on this podcast. Thank you for being a guest.
Super glad to be here.
Yeah, we're going to have a great conversation today about a subject that actually we didn't touch much, which is basically surveying and polling as it pertains to marketing and really finding out the opinion about what you put out there and why is it so important. But, before we launch into it and before I introduce you properly, I want to give a big shout out to Anna David, who introduced us. And I interviewed Anna. We had a great podcast. I'm going to put it in the show notes. And Anna is an expert. I mean, I think she wrote 8 best-selling books.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
Right? I know she is an expert on how entrepreneurs can actually establish themselves as authorities by creating an how-to books. And if you ever consider writing a book, you are interested in it, you have questions, definitely reach out and listen to the episode I did with Anna. So thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
Absolutely. And I also want to give a shout out to our mutual connection, Jeremy Wise. Always like to give shout outs to Jeremy and John from Rise 25. So we both know them as well. And I'm sure throughout this conversation, we're going to find others that we know. So
absolutely,
give them shout outs as well. Yep. All right, John, now it's your turn. So let me introduce you properly. Okay. So, John, you are the co-founder, right? Of PickFu, which is a polling platform that anyone can use to get fast, reliable feedback from real people about their marketing.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about PickFu and how it started.
Sure. Thanks for having me on. The thing with PickFu is it's always funny how these things start out. It started out as a side project. It was actually a tool that we built for ourselves. So my co-founder, Justin, and I, our backgrounds are in software and product engineering. And we were actually building other businesses online a number of years ago. And we found, being a small entrepreneurial team of exactly 2 people, we were very opinionated, but we were not designers. And so we would have these debates about marketing, design, what would be best for the user and so on. And we'd always have these debates and we were always looking for feedback. Now, as entrepreneurs, you know that your friends and family are super supportive, but they're not necessarily the most unbiased individuals. So you ask them and they say, oh, of course it's great. It's wonderful, whatever, and at some point they get tired of just providing feedback. And so being engineers, we decided to build a tool that would allow us to get an external perspective, to get unbiased feedback from people. Similar to going to a coffee shop and talking to random people, but my mom told me not to talk to strangers, and we like to build stuff instead. So it basically replicates that experience of being able to reach out to a set of targeted individuals who match your ideal customer profile and ask for really quick feedback on the things that you're working on like right now. So marketing messages, your company logo, maybe an ad or some product design or some product package that you're considering, like almost anything around the business.
Interesting. So how does PickFu work?
So PickFu taps into existing consumer panels, the same consumer panels that large companies like Procter & Gamble use for their market research. PickFu taps into those with software and lets you, so our addressable panel size is about over 10 million in the US, over 5 million internationally. But it's all self-service. So you can go to PickFu, create a free account, set up a poll. All it is one question, a number of options that you're trying to get feedback on, up to 8 options, images, audio, video, text. And then you're targeting. So you can target anywhere between 15 to 500 people. And then you just launch it. And right away, we'll go and find those people, present your question, your options, and get written feedback, like detailed written feedback from every single panelist. And most of this usually finishes in under an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the importance? I'm all about processes and procedures and we create marketing processes for companies. Where in the marketing process would you suggest that a company should integrate surveys and opinions and finding out about opinions?
The short answer is that anywhere where where the opinion of your customer is relevant, right? So we've internally, like we PickFu everything at PickFu. So headlines, headers for landing pages, blog post titles, online ads, so on. So basically anytime where the feedback from a customer or like a potential customer is relevant, that's a great place to use it. When we're working with customers, we have a success team that works very closely with some larger customers. We usually find that in the ideation phase, the earlier in the process you can get feedback to inform your decisions, the better it is, because it gives you a lot more confidence in deciding that, okay, we've gone over these options, we've gotten feedback, we understand what people are thinking when they see this message or see this asset or see this whatever thing we're trying to put out there in the world. Now we have a lot more confidence that what we're putting out there is going to send the message that we want.
Absolutely. So give an example of what questions do you ask? So let's talk about, like, let's say a title, you're doing an email marketing campaign, okay? Yes. And you are thinking about a subject line, or your marketing director came up with a subject line.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my company, just as an example, okay? Yeah. I'll give you an example. So for instance, we reach out to people, let's say we target the construction industry, okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we want to work with a company in a certain size that we want to document the processes and procedures. And we send a message out to prospective clients in that zone, asking them basically if they are running into problems in terms of efficiency or in terms of growing too fast and they're lacking consistency. Do they need processes? I mean, we have a whole marketing machine around that. So where would I, what questions would I ask that panel, like when I'm polling, to know if this is the right message?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, so PickFu polls are a single question. You can get a lot out of a single question. You can ask, if you were testing, let's say, an email campaign line, if you had one thing to test, you could run what we call an open-ended poll, which is just getting feedback from one thing. And you would probably ask something like, if you saw this, saw this email subject in your inbox, what do you think the contents of the message would contain? That would give you an idea of, what the perception is of your target audience is when they actually see that subject line versus what you're actually trying to deliver in the body of that message, right?
That's a good
If your marketing person is whoever's doing the headlines has a couple of headlines, then you could actually put all the headlines up to 8 different headlines in one poll and ask them if you which of these headlines would more motivate you to open the email and read more. And people will not only choose the option that motivates them and answers that question, but they'll also give the written response as to why.
Interesting. So what other areas of marketing? So we touched about, you said it, you PickFu everything. So there will be a landing page, ad, subject line, email. What are let's say if a company is actually using your services, what are the most important things for them to test, in your opinion, or to poll?
Yeah. So one thing we do is you can test entire websites and web pages. So you could put up the homepage of your company and ask them, if after reviewing this website, what other questions do you have about this product or this service? And that can be sort of like a nice audit, right, to say of a given of your website, and so to surface what other questions they may or may not have. If you don't mind, I could actually run one right now.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. I think you have.
That's how it works. I love it.
Yeah. These live demos may never work, but let's. If you can enable screen sharing,
I did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here we see. This is the PickFu. This is the PickFu app. So I'm already logged into my account. And as you can see, all it is a single question, a set of options, and then a type of poll. So what I have is the question I've put in here is, after reviewing this web page, what questions do you have about this service? And I put your website here, right?
Okay.
And then we just choose, it's an open-ended poll. You can get a star rating. You can do click tests. You can do comparisons, but we can just do open-ended right now. We'll get 15 people from our audience. We'll stick with the United States, and for speed, we'll go for random audience, but we do have a lot of targeting of, different by gender, Amazon Prime members, things that they've purchased recently, communities, we have over 90 different traits that you can target. For speed, for example, we'll just run this, and that is it. So that was, a 1-minute setup, and then we can get this launched live. We'll pay with our credit. And we can revisit this later in our conversation. But
I'm curious to see what happened. That's great.
Yeah. The poll is live now. I'm going to toss it. I'm going to toss it into our Zoom chat, and we can follow along.
Amazing! Wow. So that is so easy. So what industries do you think is the most relevant to create those kind of polls?
So we serve businesses of all sizes, from single, solo entrepreneurs, up to Fortune 100 companies, and across all industries. And I think it's more about if you're working in a role where what you're creating is going to reach your customer, right? Whether that's in marketing and you're creating a website, you're creating email campaigns, you're creating digital ads, you're creating different kinds of assets. Those are going to reach your end user. Those could benefit from this kind of quick feedback. Not as a final, you don't, obviously when you're designing something, you don't leave it to the customers to decide what, you have your own judgment, you have your own, your own artistry, but you take that feedback and you incorporate it. Let's
talk about that. Actually, I'm going to ask you a question about that in terms of give me some examples or stories, if you have any, of how actually your customers or even yourself incorporated some changes because of feedback that you got on those polls.
Great. So one of the industries, you were asking earlier about different industries. So one of the industries that we serve are people who sell on Amazon. Selling products on Amazon. PickFu is very good at optimizing that image that you see on Amazon when you're shopping, right? When you're scrolling and you're searching for a teapot and you're clicking on those images, you can run split tests on PickFu to choose a better image. And we've seen results of maybe 12% increase in sales from a $60 poll, just by choosing the right image, because you get higher click-through rates and so on. One of my favorite stories is that there was a very large company called Thrasio. Their business is to buy these Amazon listings, these Amazon products, and optimize them and make them better. And so they bought this product called Angry Orange. It was a pet deodorizer, right? Your pet has an accident, you spray it on, things are better. It was a very effective product, but the bottle was not as well designed as it could be. And so their theory was that, hey, we have a great product and an opportunity to rebrand this product to make it really show the power and sort of the effectiveness of the product that's contained inside. So they bought this listing. I think at the time, Angry Orange was doing about $2 million a year in sales. So they buy this Amazon product, and that head of creative said, okay, we're going to now make 100 different variations of that new bottle. So they go and they make all these different variations. Their creative team comes with all this stuff. They internally they debate. They get down to maybe 8 of them or like 6 of them. Then they go onto PickFu and they ran. I think they ran 6 polls testing which of these bottles is going to perform better. And they, I think they tested it with maybe 200 or 500 people. They read all the results. They saw that the winning bottle, the one that they internally preferred, was winning with the consumer. What that meant is what they were looking for with the polls was not only whether it was going to win, but also how strongly consumers felt about it, because a rebrand for that bottle would have cost them $50,000. And so they didn't, as a business owner, you don't want to go and spend $50,000 without getting some kind of validation that what we're doing is we're heading in the right direction, right? And so using the PickFu polls helped de-risk that decision and gave them more confidence to say, okay, yes, we need to do a redesign. Yes, we need to invest the $50,000, and yes, this is the bottle design and theme and brand that we're going to go with. So they did, and the day after they launched that redesign, the redesigned bottle and listing on Amazon, they 10x their sales.
Wow!
Like it went from a $2 million a year brand to a $20 million a year brand.
Wow!
And then with that brand, they've now been able, like with that same strong, you can look at Angry Orange now, with that same strong brand, they've been able to expand the product line, right? So now they have like the larger version, and they have, I don't even know, I can't even keep track of all the different kinds of pet deodorizer products that now they're launching, like built on that brand.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah, those are the stories. I mean, that's what you need. You need to, because if you're actually selling to a consumer, you need to actually know if there is a need and what their opinions are, because that is your final destination. So if you are producing something that has no value, then the value is in your head, then it's definitely not going to work. I did a great episode with Travis Luther a few weeks ago, and he was talking about his successes in creating businesses, but also about some failures and it didn't work. And he was talking about this particular point of really, you need to really observe and see a need.
Validate.
Then it's not going to work. So I know that PickFu actually is solving that in terms of like really asking the question as like, is this going to work or not going to work? And the fact that you can run it for solopreneurs all the way to Fortune 100 companies, it really opens that field to everyone to actually figure out and ask the right questions.
Yeah. Last week, I was talking to a solopreneur who was thinking about selling on Amazon, and he had this idea for a fancy toilet paper roll, whatever, right? So a take on the toilet paper roll, and he needed it to sell at a certain price for a specific feature for him to actually make money on the business. So he actually ran a number of polls on PickFu to validate whether or not, hey, if you saw this, would you buy it for this price compared to the existing ones for this other price? It was a competitive test, and you can do that on PickFu. It's like a sandbox. You can test you versus your competitor and anyone else. So he tested it against the best sellers in the category. And his product flopped. It failed. Everyone said it was, this gimmicky feature is not worth it. I wouldn't pay an extra $2, or I wouldn't pay an extra $10. I may pay an extra $1. And he came back to me and he said, oh, well, that was the best $100 I've ever spent, because that saved me from losing $10,000 in terms of design, purchase order, stocking product, and so on. So it's about the validation, right? Like we like to say, we like to advise people to test before they invest, I guess.
Absolutely. Test before you invest is a very good one. So we're talking about prices. We're talking about rewards, right? We're talking about images that will sell. So the marketing, the repackaging. What other things do you think people should test for, or what circumstances?
Yeah. So in general marketing, we've seen a lot of testing of email templates, right? So if you're sending a newsletter, trying to figure out the right template, and not only the layout, but then you can also test the headlines, like the subject lines, like we were talking about earlier, Facebook ads and digital ads, those you can definitely test with PickFu, because what you get with PickFu that you don't get by just running them on Google or on Facebook is that you get written responses as to why people are choosing the option that they're choosing. So you're better able to understand the message that your ad is sending out there, right? People might click on an ad, but if that ad is conveying something that you're not intending, then maybe that's not a valuable click to you. So we see a lot of companies pre-test their digital advertising on PickFu before putting it out there, and then doing the pure quantitative testing.
Sure, that makes sense. What kind of demographics can you choose on PickFu?
All the standard ones: age, income, education, all of that stuff. And then we have a lot of micro-targeting for the types of cars you drive, are you in an urban, suburban area? What kind of pets do you have? What kind of movies you like to watch? I mean, we can get super, super detailed. Like if you want to target Android users who spend $10 a month on the App Store who like anime, you could probably do that. We're able, with our software, we're able to constantly build out new targeting segments. So if there's not something that is available now, you could put in a request and we could probably start building that out fairly rapidly.
Wow. That is actually pretty impressive, John. What you created there is very, very impressive. So if our listeners would like to find out more, where should they go?
They can just go to the website. It's all self-service, PickFu. That's PickFu.com. It's free to sign up for an account. There's no subscription required, and it's just pay as you go.
Beautiful. Absolutely. I recommend that. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to excel in your marketing and sell more and be able to market your product correctly, absolutely. Polling, surveying is so important, and this is a great tool that anybody can use. So we have the results. What happened here?
So since we've been chatting and launched the poll, we've had 8 out of 15 answer so far. I figured that you might be interested in seeing.
Tell me what's up there.
So 8 out of 15 have responded. We have a handful more answering right now. So they're saying, this is real feedback. So we have a list of responses here. One question: I want to know what the average combined experience in years does this company have in business consultation?
That's a good one.
It says free consultation, but what are the actual prices? Even an estimate would be helpful.
Okay.
What does the free consultation entail? What does it include? Do you offer any kind of satisfaction money back guarantee? Do you get to pick which consultant you work with? Yeah. So you can see on your screen as well. Like it's
yeah. Wow, those are real reactions that can help. Or immediately I go, yeah, we should change that. When we reach out to people and offer the free consultation, we give them a price. So that's very true. Yeah. Actually, I interviewed somebody that was a marketing expert that actually talked about putting together like questions like that and answering it. So absolutely, yes. This is very good. So in terms of having like the price range, can you pick your consultant? Can you do this? Can you do that? That's great feedback that if you incorporate it, and I'm sure if we would have sent it to 100 people, then we would get like real suggestions. Of course, we're not going to act on one suggestion only, but if we had multiple, let's say you survey 500 people and you get 260 responses that are the same, you better do that, because that's definitely something that tells you that the majority want to know about it. So I think it's a great tool.
And and speaking of getting, obviously, if you survey a broader audience, you're going to get more data points, and we offer a lot of tools to work through that. One of the things that we did offer recently, set up recently, is actually using highlights to read and summarize all the results and pull out the key pain points. So like you said, there might be a lot of questions that 100 people might bring up about a given service, but then if you have the time, you can read through all of them. You can also use our AI highlights feature so that it automatically summarizes all like the main points and everything. So
fantastic. John, this has been such a great conversation. Yeah. Thank you for being a guest on this podcast. I'm sure our listeners learned a lot. And I sure learned a lot, and I really appreciate your expertise.
Appreciate the time. It was great chatting with you. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Okay, thanks.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.